Hello, I'm your host, Leonard Duncan. Welcome to a new episode of ATV-TALK The Motorsports podcast. Please join us every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We bring you interviews with industry professionals, live events, live news about the motorsports industry in every episode. Enjoy the show. Whether we are out riding with our friends and family or racing in extreme environments, we all need good tires. That's why I recommend GBC Power Sports Tires, a division of Greenball Corp. Their products, which include XC Master, Mini Master, and Groundbuster 3, are what leading professionals in the ATV-UTV industry are using. You can get your tires at greenballtires.com or find them on Instagram as GBC Tires for further inquiries. Good morning, everybody. I'm Leonard Duncan, the host of ATV Talk, and ATV Talk presents the Sunday morning show. And my co-host,
Danny Duncan II.
All right. Hey, Danny, how are you, bud? Thanks for joining us.
How are you? I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. So this is a first time for us and a first show for us, and we're going to cover different topics. So let's just get right into it and talk about some Supercross.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite subjects. A little bittersweet this morning. The top three in points had a shakeup last night with Cooper Webb going out in the heat race. Unfortunate event. I honestly got a little emotional yesterday watching it because, as you know, Cooper Webb's probably one of my favorite riders, if not my favorite rider. So there's no real update on him. He did walk off the track, which was good. He did have to get some assistance. It looked like when he crashed, he stood up afterwards and then kind of fell down. I'm hoping it's just a concussion. I know that sounds bad, but I hope there's nothing broken. I mean, he was 11 points back and he was dominating, and he was going to beat Eli yesterday, I feel like.
Well, maybe that's the case. We'll never know. I wanted to get into more of the race before we got into the Cooper Webb thing, but we're here, so we might as well cover it. You know, I feel bad for Adam Cincerillo because he had nowhere to go. And when you're looking to the left and there's a rider on your right and you can't see him, I bet you that kid is in turmoil right now. And as far as Cooper Webb goes, I did some reading super late last night, and they're seeking his physician, his doctor, to run some more tests on him because I think he has a head injury and maybe a neck injury because of it, which could have ended his season, you know, with only 2 rounds left. I wouldn't take any chances with that. And I know what you think of Cooper, and you know, being a 2-time past champion, he is fast, he is aggressive, he's a great rider, and yeah, I mean, I feel bad for him. It's a shitty way, excuse my language, to end your season.
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part for me is he fought all season long. I mean, he's not a mud rider, and he still got top 5 in the mud last week. He's not a super good West Coast rider. I feel like he does better on the East Coast, and he does better on the different dirt than Eli does. And I feel like coming into the rest of this season, he had a real strong suit. Surprisingly, even though I know we're not talking about it yet, but the elevation changes, he has done extremely well in Salt Lake. And I feel like he was going to really do some damage in the points in Salt Lake. I don't know. I feel bad for Adam because I know how Adam probably feels, especially because Adam's been on the other side. He has been Cooper Webb in this situation. So I think that we just need to take it in stride. He just needs to take it in stride, get the test done, and figure out what's going on.
So that's my grandson, little Danny.
Yes.
The third.
Yes, this is the third right here.
He wanted to join into the conversation. Hey, Danny, how you doing, buddy?
He wants to ride his stay sick.
Well, Danny, after I'm done with your dad, you can go ride your stay stick, okay, buddy?
Go watch Mickey.
So this was round 14 in Nashville.
Yeah.
Of the Supercross.
15.
It was round 15. Yeah, round 15 in Nashville Supercross. Sorry,
Yeah.
I did so much research last night that I didn't get everything put in. Saxton rode well. Do you think that Eli is suffering from championship worries, or he just let him go?
He's let him go. He's just doing status quo. He knows he needs to control the points, and that was the smartest move for him. Why would he get after Cooper Webb went down? He pretty much won the championship. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but his competition went away. He had 21 points on Chase Sexton, and Sexton has no chance with 3 rounds unless Tomac completely blows it. So why is he going to get into a battle with Chase Sexton and possibly get taken out? Look at what just happened to Cooper, how easily that could happen to Eli Tomac.
We're talking about Cooper, but has anybody mentioned Barsha?
Oh, that's what I was about to say. And then you have Barsha, who
dropped out a third because he crashed, and it looks like to me, it looked like he broke his collarbone. I mean, I don't have any updates, but that's what it looked like, because there was impact and he had to be helped off the track, and he was holding that right arm.
Yeah. I think Barsha came on strong here at the end too. I mean, he's gotten on the podium with 1 win in the last 5 races. That's coming on pretty strong, and he was in the podium position. And quite frankly, I think he would have caught Eli, and Eli would not have fought him. Eli probably would have let him go. Eli had if you listen to his post-race interview, he was saying that he had a slip up in the whoops. And after that, he was like, you know what, cruise control. I don't need to push it. We're fighting for a championship. I'm going to put it in cruise control. And he did. His lap times dropped by like a second or 2 a lap, and he just coasted. He honestly just coasted. If it was fighting for the championship with Chase Sexton, I guarantee you Eli Tomac, we would have seen a different Tomac. Chase Sexton would have never caught him, and Eli probably would have won that race by 5 seconds. But he did it the smart thing and just coasted.
Well, if we were talking Sexton, that guy should be dominating the points, with all the leads that he's thrown away, the mental mistakes he's made.
He's a mental marshmallow. If you were his manager, and that was, let's just say, the relationship that you and Eichner have, you're his mechanic, you're his manager, what are you telling Sexton on the line?
We would be going into a totally different deal. It wouldn't be on the line where we were having our conversations. We would be having a in-depth mental conversation in practice sessions, in our training sessions, so that we would be mentally preparing him. You have to know the individual a little better to comment solely. So when you form a bond with a rider, you're forming this bond in such a way this person inside and out, kind of like your wife. Her, her moods. Well, you have to know his moods. You have to know what scares him. You have to know what he's worried about, so that you can counteract it as you're not just his mechanic, you're his everything. You're his support system, his mechanic, his counselor, his babysitter, everything. And for a young man like this, he needs guidance in a way that's going to elevate him. And something's happened to where they're not elevating him. They're putting pressure on him that he doesn't need, that's affecting him. And
that's why he's switching teams.
Well,
quite frankly, I think that's why he's switching teams. You know what that pressure is?
When?
Do you know what he's switching at the end of the year? He's going to
he's switching, but he switched early. He didn't know that Lawrence was going to come out and be a beast.
Oh, please, dude. Lawrence has been a beast. That's what the pressure is right there. That's the pressure.
I don't think
Lawrence
that
is going to come in and he's going to destroy people in the 450 class. I'm telling you, that kid has, if Tomac really does retire, like they're saying he's going to at the end of the year, watch out the rest of the series, because on a 250, Jet Lawrence is within a half a second, if not on the time frame of the top 3 in the 450 class, and he's on a 250. Imagine what that's going to transfer to.
So look at it this way. Look at it this way. Based on the knowledge that I have, there are tracks that are 250 orientation and 450 orientation. There are tracks where the 250s will be faster than the 450s, and it's because maybe the 450s have too much power. Maybe they're a little harder to control, so you can't ride them as hard. Those 250s are sleek rocket ships that you can control, you can throw around. And you have a guy like Jet Lawrence and Hunter Lawrence that are both physical specimens, and they have super talent. You know, I feel bad for Hunter. I mean, when Jet's going to be a superstar, Hunter's a star, but come on, Jet is the guy.
You know, I think that because of who they are as people, you will not see one be a star over the other, because they do everything together. I mean, after Hunter won his championship yesterday, his
brother was there.
The first person he went to was his brother. They're best friends. They're 100% best friends, and they will 100% elevate each other. And I don't think that I don't think you're going to have as much stardom one over the other, because I think that they're going to want to elevate each other, and they're going to elevate each other to a whole nother level.
You think Hunter's going to stay down in the 250s?
No, he's going 450, I bet.
Wow. That's a 1-2 punch, because, you know, if you have a teammate that knows your moves and is going to help you. So let's say Hunter's in the points lead and Jet's not, Jet's going to help him.
Yeah.
You know, if Jet's in the point lead, Hunter's going to help. And it's, you know, you can say blocking is bullshit. You can say all these things, but teammates do these things to help elevate, because the ultimate goal is for the team to win a title. I don't care about individual stats. The team wins the title.
I got a rebuff to that. I remember a few years ago when Ryan Dungey won the title, and he got a block pass at the end to win that title. And I remember you being upset that block pass happened and the team tackled.
Just because I'm upset and don't like it doesn't mean that I don't agree with it.
I get it.
You know, I mean, I'd tell my guys, you know, the only thing I tell my guys is don't wreck each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's happened. We've had it done. We were winning and freaking.
Well, I remember in the stadium race in San Diego when Ben Jackson landed on Eichner, broke his leg. They were running 2-3.
No, that was in Anaheim, and actually, yeah, they were running good, but a year later, Eichner won in Anaheim in a mud race. But that's neither here nor there. I want to get into the Roxon thing. Nobody's talking about him. He's quietly moving himself into third on an outdated machine that I think works really well. I'm not a Suzuki fan. Let's not be fooled by that. And he is riding well. He's doing great. And I think you're going to see him come back next year on that Suzuki even stronger and a force to be reckoned with. Maybe he can't beat Jet. Maybe he can't beat Cooper Webb, but maybe he can.
Dude, the German chocolate is what everybody calls him. And I love that guy. I mean, I've watched him from when he rode for factory Honda, factory KTM. I mean, when he was on the 250 class, back when he was training at, oh my gosh, why can't I not think of the guy's name? Training at one of the old riders that rode for KTM's house. And, you know, that kid, he's such a good dude. And I think that he was dealing with some issues with arm pump. And, you know, I mean, your body goes through something like he did with almost losing his arm, essentially, when he broke at that time. It takes a long time for somebody to recover from that. Me being in the medical field, I can promise you that 90% of people would never ride again, let alone race at the level that he's at. And I think that he's even a better outdoor rider than he is indoor. And I think that we're going to see some interesting racing this summer and going into the outdoor motocross. I think that he's going to be the force to be reckoned with, honestly, when it comes to Eli Tomac. You know, we have Frenchie coming back. And
did he retire or get hurt?
No, he got hurt at the beginning of the year. I mean, this year we've had some really close racing in Supercross, but we've also had a ton of injuries. Frenchie Ferrandez, I call him Frenchie, sorry. And then, you know, Christian Craig got hurt. Mookie got hurt. Mookie was actually looking really good and really fast in the preseason. And I really think that he was gonna come back and do something really good. I'm super happy that he finally got given a chance. I think he's been living in his brother's shadow for so long, and he's had rides but hasn't, and now he's finally got a full-fledged factory ride, and I think that he's going to do something with it. He's coming back for outdoors as well, and I think that he'll do well extremely well. So you're going to have a stronger race. But I mean, Webb's not as good outdoor. I mean, he has a 250 title, but he hasn't done anything on a 450 and outdoor. He really hasn't. Dungy's supposed to come out and possibly race the outdoors again this year. That could be kind of interesting. They're doing some bike development stuff over the summer again. And he's honestly, from what I understand, he's probably one of the best bike developers that there is in the racing industry. He's just so in tune with the bike and just getting it to work how it needs to. That was the biggest complaint that Cooper Webb
let's take that to the next level. A guy that trained him is probably one of the greatest motocross racers ever to walk the planet, and that's Roger DeCoster. I mean, the guy is phenomenal. Anybody that let him go out of their organization is stone cold idiots. Honda, I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
you never
Suzuki
let that guy go.
Suzuki did too.
Yeah, I mean, what are they thinking?
The guy that Roger DeCoster or not, I mean, why do you think Cooper Webb is doing as well as he is? You know what I mean? Cooper Webb has a different mentality than anybody in racing. He is the strongest mentally. I hope that this accident doesn't change that, but he is the strongest mentally riding out of anybody in the entire country and out in the world, I think. You know, and you can't replace that. I mean, you have guys who are mental marshmallows, like, I'm sorry, until a few years ago, Eli Tomac was. He's the fastest guy on the track.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was the fastest guy on the track, and he couldn't.
Yeah, but you're confusing what was going on with Eli and being mental. They were taking his ability to ride at that level away from him by not letting him develop the machine to his needs. Same thing happened to the last guy. Okay, that's why he retired. So let's not even mess around.
You're saying that's why Villapoto retired?
Yes, I read an article about it.
Why wouldn't Cowie just let him develop it? I mean,
because they have their set way of doing it, and that's what you're going to do. I think you're going to see a change here next year. Just saying, I know some things.
They have to. I mean, Ryan Cox, why would they hire Ryan Cox Mitch Payton is a great engine builder. Why would you hire one of the other great engine builders to come onto your team?
Well, Ryan Cox, everywhere he's won. So look out, guys. Kawasaki's coming. You better be prepared.
Adam and Anderson are both good riders. Anderson,
I think Anderson is your guy to favor there, because Cincerello gets hurt. If Cincerello grows a little, and with a guy like Ryan Cox, he could work with him. You know, we got off track about the mental game there. And plus we really need to explain the outdoor motocross series is the second half of your season. You have a stadium series where it's all travels the US back and forth, east to west. And then now you have an outdoor series that's going to do the same thing. You're going to have outdoor racetracks like Glen Helen and High Point in Mount Morris, PA. So on and so forth. I think High Point's on the schedule. I'd have to go look. So yeah, you have the outdoor races are larger crowds than the stadiums. You know, you have really cool things that are going on the outdoors. They make it a whole experience. So if you get a chance, go to one. I mean, I haven't been to one since the 80s. So, you know, you got to go to go experience it. I take that back. You and I went to Elsinore the year Dungy won the title.
Yep.
Yeah. So I lied. I went to that one, and it was a lot of fun, but it was just hot, and you know, when you get miserable, it's not a lot of fun. But so the mental aspect for Roxon, you know, look at this guy. You talk about Cooper Webb being tough. What has this done to Roxon? His mental capabilities are coming back. He's getting stronger. Yes, he's getting older, but he's still there.
I mean, so, I don't think so. The thing is that age is different now than it was back then. You have these guys who honestly will be able to ride longer and race longer. Nice cut, by the way.
Shut up.
Just, you know, you should I think I got you a man's cup that says Black Rifle Coffee on it.
Yeah, you did. Black Rifle doesn't sponsor us though, so I can't put it on there.
Anyway, but I think that you're going to have a longer career.
You're losing. Why is Eli retiring? The guy's he's still on top of his game. I don't think that they're going to beat him outdoor. I really don't.
You know, I like Tomac. He's one of my favorite riders too. It's really hard with racing because you get to experience it different than like you do like a sport like football. I've watched these kids' careers. Kids, I mean, they're the same age as me, if not a little younger than me. But I've got to watch their careers my entire life. I got to, look at them up and watch them in the moto movies and all the great outdoor games and all these movies that give you an idea of who they are. I mean, Adam Cianciarulo started being in the movies when he was like 7, 8 years old. Like he was a little tyke. I mean, Austin Faulkner is another one that has been in him forever. Unfortunately, both of those kids have been injury prone their entire career. And I don't even want to say injury prone because it's more of just stuff happens. I mean, Adam Cianciarulo has the worst luck in the world. I mean, he gets landed on last year, nothing he can do. Somebody lands on him from behind. I mean, just stuff like that just happens. But, I think that we're going to have longer careers and you just grow a bond with these people. So, but I do feel like Frenchie is one to watch out for. I mean, he is great outdoors. And, Eli's only going to have like 2-3 weeks to test in between round one of.
You don't think that they were testing already?
No, because he's been in such a tight battle with
I'll bet they have. I mean, that Yamaha team, is got it going on. They're doing really well, building good machines and allowing the riders to develop. And it broke my heart when Craig went to the other KTM team. Pissed me off.
I mean, having the past that we have with Christian Craig. I mean, Christian Craig, I went to elementary school with him, and I won't tell the story, but him and I got in trouble together. And I remember, going over and hanging out and riding motorcycles because he lived across the street from us, and, riding bicycles. He was always the best kid on the BMX bikes. And, Michael Craig, his dad, he's a crazy guy, but he is, a lot of fun. I remember Christian Craig jumping off the roof of his 2-story house onto a trampoline when we were like 10 years old, and then giving me a ton of crap because I wouldn't do it. I didn't have enough huevos.
Because your dad would have wrung your neck.
Yeah, and that too. So,
just because I was at the races that Mike Craig was winning and we were racing him as well, doesn't mean I was going to let my son be that. But we've got off topic here. Let's get back focused on some of the issues. You have 2 rounds left. They're at elevation, where Eli's going to shine because he trains so much at elevation that I think he's going to be more prepared for it. Yes, these guys are all professional athletes, but I don't think your Flatlander, in Chase is going to have anything for him. He may win one of the two, but I don't think so. I think Eli's probably going to win Denver because that's as close to his home race as you can get. And, that's going to lock it in for him right there, unless something bad happens.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that I don't think that there's anybody that has anything for Eli going forward except for Sexton. I hope that talk about Roxon. I hope that they figured out his elevation sickness stuff. I know when they went straight to in 2020, when they were just doing the Supercross in Salt Lake in the elevation, he really struggled. So I'm hoping that they have that figured out and that he can compete. Barsh is out. Webb, we don't know about yet. So, if
I'm betting Webb's going to be out because he has no chance for the title now. Yeah. He can win both rounds. It's going to take luck, something bad happening to Eli. If I were him, depending on the injury, I probably would not even attempt it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I honestly would not.
You brought this up to me, and I'm not a huge fan of this topic, or because it's going to be so controversial. The Deegan Smith issue, I believe that riders need to be professionals. And if you have teammates that are fighting amongst each other, you need to get them gathered in, and you're making the team look bad. Not only are the riders looking bad, but the team looks bad for not handling their business and making this not a public argument, Deegan's
Jordan came out and tried to squash it as best he could. He really did. He came out, he did a podcast saying, "Oh, I shouldn't have done this," and like blah blah blah. He took fault for it. That's not the team tactic that they should have taken. They're so enamored with Brian Deegan's son because of all the social media buzz that he has and the big following. He really does have a big following. And you know what? I agree. He is good for the sport. He is a good rider, and he is good to help.
But he's not good for the sport when he takes his teammate out.
No, I don't disagree with that. They've had practice track issues from what's talked about in the past, in the background. They've had practice track issues. Deegan apparently feels like, Smith rides him hard. But quite frankly, I think that's what needs to happen. You have a rookie coming in at 17 years old. Do you really think these other riders aren't going to ride him hard, especially with the fame that he has? I mean, Danger Boy has been doing backflips and been super famous since he was like 5-6 years old. And that's been
and I agree with all that.
Bad, but like team tactics wise, I would sit him down and be like, "Look, dude, you're sitting out a race."
I would do something because you have to make him realize that he's got to pay his dues just like everybody else. Just because you're famous on the internet doesn't mean you're going to step into this arena and be God's gift to motorcycle racing, because you're not. You're not winning races. You're not putting it together.
For a rookie, he's doing pretty dang good on that.
I'm not saying that. I think that he's going to be a formidable talent.
I think he is one of the futures. I think it's him and Jet personally, and Hunter. The three of them are the future of this racing, and Chase Sexton. Those are the four that we're going to see battling in the next 10, 20 years.
There's probably a couple other riders that you haven't seen yet.
Joe Shimoda, McAdoo. I mean, those guys are good too.
They're all going to come through, and emotional things happen. Riders evolve and grow, and sometimes they get on a 450 and they're a new person.
Yeah.
So you have to look at, and then there's guys that are mid pack on a 250 that you never even knew of, and all of a sudden it clicks, and now they're on. And you just have to wait and see how that works out. Cooper Webb, you go back a little bit, and he wasn't the guy he is today.
So, okay, let's take a pause there. He was in the 250 class. He won titles. He did everything he was supposed to do in the 250 class. And then when he transitioned to the 450 class, the Yamaha had just done their reverse head. They didn't have a ton of development, and they had issues with that bike, and they never fixed them until Tomac came on. So
you know what? You're probably right. And no, they were already fixing them. They just got a guy that could win when they got Tomac.
They canned him.
Right.
They canned Webb, and then Webb went out the next year and won the title with KTM. He only had 1 year in the 450 class before he went to KTM.
Don't
and then
mention that dirty word on my.
You know what, dude? It's a great bike. Okay. It really is. I mean, if you think about it,
I think the factory bikes are way better than the production bikes, but we'll get into that discussion another time.
Okay. Let's talk about the new bike that's coming out. I mean, if we're going to talk about bikes, what about Triumph?
I haven't read anything on it yet, so I'm not able to answer.
It looks.
It's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of time to develop it, so you got to be careful getting too much into it.
Yeah.
Some of their street stuff or the other things that they build are okay. We'll have to address that at a later date, because I have no info on it. Know that your grandfather is a huge F1 fan.
Yeah. 1 second. Go.
Well, we can't go 1 second.
There's not a fire in the chicken.
I'm going to get into that. The Formula One racing is mostly done in Europe. They race all over the world. It's probably the premier of car racing there is in the world, with some of the all-time greats, that you get to see. Two of the things that are bothering me about F1 are the fact that every time there's a situation on the track, you have drivers complaining, whining. Alonso is a champion. He shouldn't be running his mouth and whining because somebody didn't move out of his way. Oh, come on, dude. Pass the guy.
Is it lapping the person? I'm sorry, but in Formula One, there shouldn't be some. The cars are so good and so well advanced. Should he really be lapping somebody?
He wasn't lapping him. They were racing. They were racing. It wasn't a lapping situation. And, if you can't pass the guy, it's your fault. Don't whine because he was holding you up. in real racing, guys, and I'm talking to all the F1 drivers, in real racing, you need to man up and make it happen. Okay.
Reminds me of that movie Driven. You ever seen that movie?
Yeah, that
where he goes through and he starts humming and he hits the quarters, and oh man, that is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit fake, but
yeah,
you look at the racing that the Americans are used to. Rubbings racing, get over it. If you don't like it, go sit in the stands with your girlfriend and watch. And I'm talking to Alonso and Verstappen, because Verstappen will push people, rub people, wreck people, and then cry like a little girl when somebody touches him. I mean,
yeah, I mean, the kid's been in Verstappen. I mean, he's been racing since he was eligible to race at 17 years old, 166 days. That was his first race. He was 17 years old, 166 days old. That was when he could start racing, and he's done well. I mean, he's 25 years old. He has 2 titles.
No, he has one title.
No, he has 2.
One title. The second title was Lewis Hamilton's, and the FIA cheated and lied and never went back on their decision, because they changed the rules at the end of the race to give it to Verstappen, because someone in that organization doesn't like Lewis Hamilton for whatever reason, or thinks that it was better. And anybody wants to argue, go watch the race. Okay. This is total bull crap for an organization to change the outcome at their will because they don't like somebody or didn't want Mercedes to win another title. You know what? You don't have to be a Mercedes fan. You don't have to be a Red Bull fan. You have to be a realist and a real fan to understand that Verstappen had no way of beating Lewis Hamilton if Masi didn't change the rule. And that guy is a piece of crap and should never be allowed at a racetrack ever again.
Yeah, I mean, good luck getting that implemented, but that's the whole point of Formula One, and why a lot of people struggle with it. It's the guys who have the most money that are successful, and if you don't have the most money, then just get out. Unless you have billions of dollars, you're not racing that.
Well, Red Bull cheated the next year.
If it's Red Bull, though. I don't know if it's Red Bull.
No, Red Bull did cheat. They spent more than their allotted dollar figure and got no penalty. Okay, if it doesn't affect, then what's the deal? I mean, come on, guys.
So hold on. How much more money did they spend? How much more money did they spend?
Doesn't matter. If they went 1 cent over, you went over. Period.
I don't disagree, but where do you say that they spent that money? Just because they came out what did they spend that money on? That's what I'm asking.
Doesn't matter. You have a set budget. You're only allowed to spend X amount of dollars. They spent more than their allotment. Yeah. Okay, the rule is the rule. Yeah. So FIA again has no balls. They're scared of Red Bull. They're scared of these people. But if you lay down the law and make it happen, you're going to be better. No, that's the wrong guy. Yeah, that's a race car driver. We're talking about the guy that was in the FIA that made the rule at the final round of the 2021 season that gave Max Verstappen the championship. And it's our producer Valeria is here next to me, and she's trying to help us with some data and making sure that we get certain things correct and stay on course. She's been directing me the whole time. So give her a shout out, anybody you can, because she does a great job for us. And she's not a motorsports person. Okay. She knew nothing about motorsports when she started doing this. So she's doing a great job and helps us out a lot, actually. So
yeah, thank you.
Danny, I don't mean to get passionate about it, but I am a Lewis Hamilton race car driver fan. And I say that because I like Lewis Hamilton on the racetrack only. So let's just be clear. The guy's phenomenally talented, and I believe this mentally broke him.
Does he have something going on off the track that you make it seem like you're only his fan when he's racing, not off?
I don't even want to get into politics, so let's not go there.
Okay. I was just curious. I mean, race politics is different than just regular politics. There's politics.
No, this is him getting involved in politics in the United States that he knows nothing about. And and talking shit and running his mouth.
Well, I didn't know any of that stuff, but what I am saying, I do like the rule though that F1 has of the cap. I would say, I'd call it like a cap, like football, like you have your cap space that you're allowed to only spend that. I think that they should implement that in more racing, because you have these teams that are spending an ungodly amount of money on bike and bike development. I mean, you talk about, sorry to take it back to Supercross, but you talk about Eli Tomac's bike. That bike's probably $100,000.
Probably more than that, dude.
Probably more than that, but I'm just saying $100,000. Your privateers racing $10,000, maybe $15,000 bike.
Those F1 cars cost millions and millions of dollars, and the development that goes into them. It kind of breaks my heart that Mercedes dropped the ball so bad on their development. And I don't know how Red Bull came out so far ahead, probably because when the car changed, Mercedes has just as much, if not more. And when the car changed, they were ready and Mercedes wasn't. And Ferrari was better, but Ferrari gave up almost a whole season to develop the new car.
I don't know how Ferrari has so much money. I really don't. I don't know how they have so much money. They don't sell as many cars as, you know what I mean? They cost an ungodly amount of money to buy one.
More cars than you think.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know the exact numbers. I don't get into it. I just, what irks me about F1 and what I have a problem with is the fact that Horner, the guy that runs Red Bull, is an asshole. And excuse my language, sorry, but that dude, the guy's a jerk. He doesn't, he does not know how to work within a system that you don't need to freaking say the things you do about other race car drivers that aren't on your team. Shut your mouth. Be respectful. I mean, Lewis Hamilton is a multi-time champion, probably right in the ranks of being an all-time great. Okay. And you're talking trash about him for a guy that has only really earned, you could technically say he hasn't earned a title because he should have never won his second because they cheated by spending too much money. So, and he's a billionaire, and he probably, they got all these arguments and all these things they want to say about it. It's just like the Marc Marquez haters. I know that's not on our list to talk about, but this guy is the greatest motorcycle racer in MotoGP that they've ever seen. He's more talented than Rossi, all of them. And yes, he is. You go back and look.
He's not more talented than Rossi.
Yes, he is.
He's probably I would put the two of them together. I don't think he's more talented. He doesn't have the mental fortitude that Rossi has. And that's part of your game. That's why I wouldn't put him up.
I think he does. He's had bike problems because Honda freaking got caught sleeping, and what caused his injury was an electrical glitch, and he made the electrical glitch causes him to run off course. He drops almost all the way to last. He's going for the win, and the glitch happens again, throws him on the ground and breaks his arm. So Honda never does any development until he comes back, and then they put him on a machine that's subpar, and he's riding so hard that he can't get the machine and the tires aren't able to do what his mind can do. And he crashed by overriding the machine. You can talk a lot of shit all you want. He's not the guy, but we didn't want to talk about MotoGP. We're going to talk about them next week, and we'll get into this Marquez Rossi argument then. What do you think of the Netflix series about F1?
I haven't watched it. I can't lie. I haven't watched it. It's on my list. As you guys have seen, I apologize for the interruptions. I have 3 kids, and it's hard to watch anything besides Mickey Mouse and Paw Patrol right now with the 3 kids. So, and I have very limited time. I go to school full time. Plus I'm a director of a program at a college, at a university, and I still have a family. So I don't get to watch much TV. Racing is my TV watching, but I will start watching it, and then I think that would be a good discussion that we can have about it. I think that the rule changes and the budget stuff and cap space, I mean, there's got to be a penalty, but how big of a penalty do you put on there? I mean, you're talking about I can only relate it to football because they're the only one that I know that has cap space like that, and cap space issues. And, you dock them, you dock them, you know what I mean? Like, you dock them some points, I guess, but would those points have made that much of a difference? How much did he win the series by last year in
He
22?
dominated the series. But
Okay,
okay,
so
if you cheat, you cheat.
you
So
can't
me,
disqualify him from every race.
I'm a hardline guy. I believe that you need to have stricter punishments to keep these people in line, to stop it. Now, let me finish, please. And the reason I believe that is because your series is, all of them, I don't care what it is, from Works to GNCC to MotoGP to F1, if you have strict guidelines that are solid rock and somebody breaks them and you punish them with what the rule says, nobody's going to cheat, and that you're going to gain respect. And when you gain respect, you gain more followers, you gain more racers, and you grow in a whole.
I don't disagree with that, but what I'm going to say is there a rule in the book? Yes, there's a cap space rule, but is there a rule that says what the punishment is if you go?
That's the problem,
so
right
that's
there.
the problem right there. The lawyer just steps in. You're saying that they have a ton of money. They probably have some fancy swancy lawyer, and honestly, it drags the sport through the mud having this lawsuit, and they're trying to dethrone a champion, and you could spin it so many different ways. What they needed to do, and I don't know if they did this, is they say, okay, you guys made this mistake. Next year, we're going to put this in the rule book, and you guys will not make this mistake again, because you guys will be disqualified from the series. You lost your title if you do this again. So you can't do anything about 22 and them spending more money. It's not in the rule book clearly defined. What I like to say is a clear expectation. There's not a clear expectation or a clear outcome.
I agree.
So they can't do anything about last year, but they should have. And this is something we can research this week and talk about.
I don't like the discretionary deal where the association gets to make the penalty and it's never the same. Because what happens to the lower class guys, the drivers on the lesser teams, that doesn't happen to the premier teams. So you have your three premier teams, they don't get the same penalties that your lower guys do. And when they mouth off about it, they get another penalty.
Yeah.
And I think that you have to let them speak. You have to let these things go on. We're going to get more into MotoGP and F1 on the on our next week's show. We need to talk about something that happened yesterday in the States here. It was pretty amazing. Where are we at time-wise, Valeria?
We still have 20 minutes, 20 minutes.
Well, we're 9 right now.
Yeah, but we didn't start at 9. We started at like 9:18.
8:19?
9:18, I think, is when we started.
Yeah, okay. So we could go on with the F1 for a little bit, but I think we've covered it. You have a millionaire crybabies in the sport, and I think you have that in baseball, football, and basketball, and all that other stuff too. So that being said, yesterday they raced ATV MX in High Point, and I'm a fan of racing in a whole. I'm a fan of ATVs. Everybody knows that. ATV-TALK is the name of our show, a motorsports podcast, so that we cover all motorsports. But I started in the ATV world way back when I was a little kid, and you don't see this at this level very often, but you do see it. And we saw it yesterday. Joel Hetrick put on a racing clinic on pure domination. When you are that fast and you can dominate that well, look out, world. This guy is on a whole nother plateau. And he was in High Point, Mount Morris, PA. Wow. I don't know if you got to read anything on it. I didn't get to see it, but I got to read about it, and it was just incredible.
Yeah, it does sound like he put on a clinic, and Rochelle and Chad Wienen were left fighting for second and third. I want to give a shout out to Nick Janusa, though. I mean, he finished top 5, and he looked like he improved on his year and from the years past. So shout out to him. Looks like he's doing pretty good this year. But and Bryce Ford, I mean, he got 4th
I'm kind of wondering. I'm kind of wondering what happened to Bryce. Maybe Bryce didn't like the track. Maybe there was something else going on.
I don't know.
He still got fourth.
Yeah, he still. I mean, points is points. I mean, you got to sometimes just take your bad days and take your lickings and just try and get as many points as you can. Joel is on a whole nother level on an ATV. I mean, the guy trains harder than probably any of the other guys do. I mean, no disrespect to any of those guys, but he is training harder. I guarantee
I don't think he's training harder than Weenan.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Weenan can't train as hard because of his age. Weenan's on pure talent. I mean, you can't take anything away from talent. No. Oh man, I'm telling you.
I've had conversations with both guys, and also you have to look at it this way. You don't know this, but I do. Joel Hetrick is using Brandon Hoag's process. And I like Brandon Hoag's process. If you go back and listen to his podcast, Valerio will give us the number here in a second. Brandon laid it out in detail how he develops himself. That guy, you're talking about a worker, and he's just taken Joel's program to a new level. So then we go to Chad Weenan, who at 38 years old, I think he's going to be 39 soon, has learned how to work his body at a 10-year-old episode 226. You need to go back and listen to that on Brandon Hoag. Phenomenal information in there. He talks way above my head. I don't understand 80% of what he's telling me. I have a base idea, but man, it's incredible.
So as a respiratory therapist, and this is something that I actually, we're talking about training. We have a metabolic screen that we can do as a respiratory therapist. Now, I've never done one myself. I can't speak to it. I've only read books about it. I'm hoping to implement it because physical therapy actually does it more than we do. And, but you can do a metabolic study and have somebody breathe into an apparatus to give you how much their metabolism is working. So we talk about in the medical field, we look at what we call lactate. So we get a lactic acid of a patient, which lactic acid is what builds up in your muscles when you strain them. It's how much oxygen versus acid is in your muscles itself. So you have tests like that you can run to see how well and how efficient your body is burning the fuel that you're giving it by eating it. And if you study that, you figure out what nutrition works best for your body. And it is game changing. You talk about Alden Baker. Alden Baker has been doing that with just little simple glucose studies. If he got a metabolic screen and actually used the metabolic screen, you could do some crazy stuff with that and figure out exactly what your body needs for nutrition in order to level and plateau and just be and never have arm pump, never have any of that stuff. And that's stuff that the motorcycle world is getting into. The main people that use it right now, I believe, are cyclists, like Lance Armstrong, cyclists. They use a lot of that stuff. You'll see
seven time.
You'll see them training with the mask on. That mask that they're breathing into is checking their metabolic rate the entire time that they're going. And you have stuff that is super, super good for training. I mean, I want to get into it for the sheer fact of, as a respiratory therapist, we can specialize in that. But I think that is the future is trying to get your nutritional status on point. And that's how you do it. Because then you're going to be able to train longer, train harder without any muscle fatigue. You're going to be able to ride better. I don't know if that's what he was referring to in his podcast, but that is the future that is coming.
You should go back and listen to that because he's talking about things that I don't understand totally. But you brought up in our conversation earlier about the length of time that these riders are going to be around.
Yeah.
With the medical advancements, things that you're talking about, things that Brandon's talking about, there's other things out there with the blood work that they do.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back to Joe Bird, and at the end of his career, he was doing blood work to find out where he was at. And they also transitioned from 2 strokes to 4 strokes. And not a lot of people think about this. When you crack the throttle on the 4-stroke, it doesn't affect you physically like the two-stroke did. It doesn't vibrate the same. It doesn't cause arm pump or certain things to happen in your grip, in your conditioning, to cause you not to be able to ride the machine as you get older. There's probably better explanations of it, because I think they may affect your joints. They may affect other portions of your body that you just can't take the beating on a two-stroke like you can a four-stroke. A little heavier machine allows the suspension to work better, easier roll on, isn't as taxing on your muscles. And with the medical advancements, you guys are getting older and older and older. Doug Eichner retired at almost 50 years old with none of that stuff. He didn't do blood work. He didn't do any of that stuff. That guy was just an animal and wanted to race.
Eichner's is a different story. I mean, the guy would drink a chocolate milk on the way to the freaking race and then have a Pepsi as soon as he came off the bike. I never saw the guy drink water.
Well, he did.
I did.
He did change that at the end of his career. He did change that, but
he'd go out there for an hour and a half moto and come off the bike and just be like, all right, well, what are we doing now? And then help us load half the truck.
Well, when his lap times at the end of the race are faster than his beginning times, yeah, it was pretty incredible stuff watching that guy evolve, because he didn't get super fast until he got into his 40s.
He was fast before that. You can't say that. He was way fast before that. I think what you're talking about is he figured out what worked for him, and it just took him a little bit long. I mean,
we transitioned to the four-stroke too.
Yeah.
And that helped him. That brought him back.
Yeah. So I think it's funny that you brought up two-stroke versus four-stroke, because in Supercross last night, Tomac's bike started smoking at the end of the race. And they were talking about the Dragon's back and how it had 5 whoops up the face of it instead of just 4 like it normally does. And Eli rides his four-stroke like a two-stroke. He smokes clutches very, very quickly. And he even admitted it on the stand. So, I mean, you can still ride the four-stroke like a two-stroke and clutch the hell out of it and get it to do what you want it to do that way. But
it slows it down.
Tell that to Tomac then.
I will.
I
was his guy.
I'm on the show and have an argument with whether or not clutching it too much slows you down.
I was freaking telling you, if you ride it within the power of the machine that you have, you don't need to clutch it.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I'm just saying, like, But back to ATVs, I mean, I strongly feel like, Brandon is training, but Brandon he's not as old as Hetrick, and he doesn't have the years of experience.
He also doesn't have some of the financial backing, and I think some of his problems are maybe diet related. Just things that I've heard. He has bad luck too.
Yeah.
You could put that guy in a padded room with a ball bearing and he's going to break it. And unfortunately, he's just got that bad luck, and can't, Grandpa just walked by with the attack dog. So,
I get bad luck. I just strongly feel like, Hetrick is on another level. I mean, where do you equate him? You have Chad Wienen as one of the greatest of all time. You got Doug Gust, Shane Hitt, all those guys. But you talk about pure titles, you have Gary Denton and Chad Wienen. Where do you think Hetrick ends up in the scheme?
Well, this will be number 5 for him. And
this is going to be Hetrick's.
Are we talking the greatest of all time across the span of ATVs? Or are we just talking MX? If we're talking just MX, Gary Denton did it 8 years in a row. That's number 1, with a different era of machines and a different era of format. So you take that into consideration. You take Chad Wienen's time span in the industry and the development that he's gotten to work with.
Does he have?
Gary Denton did it with no factory support. Chad Wienen rode for Can-Am. He rode for Yamaha. He was ridden for Suzuki. He rode for Kawasaki. So there's 4 factory rides he had in the development of his career and the development of his program.
How many titles does Wienen have now? 7, right?
He has 8.
He has 8? Okay.
8 titles.
8 titles. Couldn't remember if it was 7 or 8. Yeah, 8 in a row is great. I mean,
it's a different era with TT and motocross. Chad's done all of his titles in just straight motocross. Could Gary have won 8 titles if it was straight motocross? Probably not.
Really?
Would there have been another guy that came out of there? You got Timmy Farr won 3, Shane Hitt won 1, but Shane Hitt
won 3, right?
Huh?
Just won 3.
He won 3 titles, different breakdowns on where his titles were. He was riding for Suzuki for his last one.
Yep.
Maybe he was riding for Suzuki on all of them. Maybe not. I'd have to go back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he won one in the 2-stroke era as well.
I was gonna say he won one on the 250R.
Right. So transition wise, Gus was phenomenal. There's other guys in there that have been really good. That you can't take anything away from. You go back to the 3-wheeler days with Hart and White and Sundahl. I mean, where do you break it in and where do you divide it up? So let's go to the Woods guys. Who's the greatest over there? Is it Barry Hawk? Is it Walker Fowler? Is it Bill Balance? Well, Bill Balance has got 9.
Balance, I would say. I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
That guy is
but Barry Hawk is the only guy to transition the opposite way from ATVs to motorcycles to win a title.
Yeah.
That's pretty dang talented guy right there.
Yeah, that is pretty talented.
Chuck DeLulu raced 4 years, won 3 titles.
Who?
Chuck DeLulu. Okay. Raced 4 years, won 3 titles, and got a second, lost by 2 points.
It's crazy.
So, I mean, there's history here that not everybody talks about. There's things that go on.
There needs to be a series that just incorporates all of them. You come and you do 2 woods races, 2 motocross races, and 2 works races, and 2 desert races, and just find out who the best ATV rider of all time, all of it is. You have different riding skills. I think that would be a fun series. Why not? I mean, they used to do TT, all that stuff. You can throw TT in there and have a 10-race series, and I think that would be a super fun series, and I think a lot of people would enjoy that. That would be a lot of fun.
Oh, I think it'd be great, spanning from one side of the country to the other. It would be fantastic if they would do that. So go back and watch on any Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. How they used to race motorcycles back in the day, flat track, you had a mile, half mile, 3/8 or quarter, 3/8, whatever it is. And then you go into TT, and then you did your road race version. And all of that accumulated your points for a championship. If you race TT, you race motocross, you race woods, you race off-road series, and you race desert, there you go. You're going to bring the greatest of all. When we were at the reunion race, Riley on the TT guy comes out on a Honda and ran really strong. Did really good.
He did really well. But
he'd also, I believe, won races in the Pro-Am and motocross before he went to TT racing.
Yeah. I mean, he was a funny guy. I liked him. He was really nice.
Oh, dude, there's so many transition guys that are capable of doing both. And, the woods would separate, the desert would separate. Your motocross guys are going to go fast in the desert because they attack the bumps. Your desert racers on the West Coast right now there's not a great defined super guy there.
Josh Rowe. He's not racing, but it's Josh Rowe.
Well, yeah, but he's older and he's probably wouldn't participate in the whole series.
He could do it. If he got backing, he could do it. He could probably win it.
I don't know if he could do the woods though.
Yeah, he could.
I don't know if he could be a TT rider. I mean, the guy's talented.
The guy's got more talent, and he rides with his feet. He rides with his hips and his feet, and he has so much flow with his feet and his hips, and that's why he would be good with it. He would do phenomenal, I think.
Well, I think he would too, but we're also biased.
No, I'm not biased.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. I think him and Garen Fuller would make a good off-road desert race team. Pull Fuller out of retirement.
I think Garen before children. Yeah. Now he's got 3 kids. No.
Yeah. Okay. I got 3 kids. I understand that.
Yeah.
So
in wrapping up, Danny, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with us and talking. We're going to develop this Sunday morning show. Will be more on time as we go. You'll see our backdrops will change. Things will change as we develop the show. So if you have information or you have comments, please, make sure that you let us know what you want us to talk about, what you want to hear about. And if you disagree, hey, no problem. Leave those down there. We'll be able to talk about it. And maybe we're wrong about some things. Maybe we're off on it here or off about something there. We will be more than glad to address those situations when they come up.
The email, but send an email to hello@atvtalk.com, right?
Hello at ATVpodcast.com.
Hello at ATV
Talk podcast.com.
Podcast.com. Apologize for fumbling that, but send requests. I mean, I would love to talk about different things. I mean, we didn't get into woods racing and a lot of the other stuff that we could. I mean, Zach Osborne is racing the Woods Series this year. That's something that's super interesting that not a lot of people are talking about. There's a lot of changes that are going on in the industry with Triumph coming up with a bike, and I'm really interested to see how that goes. So we have a lot of changes, and email those topics that you want us to cover to that email address. Or if you have something to combat or you want us to research, then, I'm game. Let's do it. If you guys want to.
We got NASCAR to talk about. We can even get into some drag racing. Not my thing, but, I'll do the research, talk about it if you guys want to talk about it. Open wheel IndyCar, we don't bring it up very much, but there's some exciting stuff going on here in the States.
Yeah.
And Superbike. So we'll get into more and more topics as we go. Again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And the Sunday show will be here next Sunday.
The team here at ATV Talk would love your feedback. Please email us at hello@atvtalkpodcast.com.
If you're in need of a consultation for your current racing program, a custom ATV, or an industry guest speaker, I have the company for you. Duncan Technologies International, Inc. offers host, MC, and guest speaking services at events. Builds custom ATVs for recreational riding or racing around the world. And they offer consulting services for professional teams or individual racers. Send inquiries to duncantechinternational@gmail.com or call 619-716-1532 for more information. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to share us with your family and friends. The podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you can find us on social media as ATV Talk Podcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter